Towards the end of that assignment I gave you yesterday, I have 4 or 5 questions that ask you to do this, and every year it seems that some people struggle on this just because of the way they're trying to give you information here. If they say sine of theta in the first one, sine of theta is greater than 0, they're asking where is the sine function positive? What quadrant is it positive? Okay, and then which quadrant is the cosine negative in? Cosine less than 0. So that's what they're doing there. It'd be a lot more obvious if they said sine is positive and cosine is negative. But by them providing you one trig function, it should narrow things down to either the first and second quadrant, or the third and fourth quadrant, or maybe the first and fourth. And then the second trig ratio, the information they give you in that, should then eliminate one of those quadrants and then leave you with just the answer. But I want to talk about this because eventually we're going to start seeing some questions where we have to decide what quadrant the angle is in because it's going to affect, obviously, the plus or minus of the answer. And this is how they're going to tell you the criteria necessary to do that. So this is kind of a preliminary question for something we're going to do a little bit more complex later on. So I want to make sure we talk about it. It should not be all that difficult once you see a first couple of these. Hopefully maybe it wasn't something that we really struggled with too much yesterday. But remember that all your trig functions are positive in the first quadrant. So my sine, my cosine, and my tangent are positive there. Tangent is the only one that's positive there. Oh, I'm sorry. Messed that up. Sine is the only one positive. That's an idiot. Sine is the only one positive. All students take tangent and then cosine. Okay? So that means, so these are all positive. Oh, these are all positive. So the remaining ratios, cosine and tangent here are negative. Sine and cosine here are negative. Tangent and sine are negative there. All right, now that's only the 3 kind of fundamental ratios, but their reciprocal should follow suit, right? So if they say, if you look at that third one, it says secant. Well, I'm not going to deal with secant, because secant theta is less than 0. It's saying the exact same thing that cosine theta is less than 0, in just regards to the positive and negative aspect. Does that make sense? Okay, so whenever they give you the reciprocal, change it to one of the fundamental sine, cosine, or tangents, and then address that. So they're saying when is sine positive? Well, sine is only positive in the first and second quadrants, right? Okay. So right now that's eliminating these. We're not worried about those. And then the next question says, well, okay, where's cosine negative then? Okay, cosine is less than 0. Well, out of first and second quadrant, cosine is negative in the second quadrant, right? So our answer is that our angle, when it terminates, is going to be resting in that quadrant. Is that doable? Okay. Go through these other ones here relatively quickly. It says tangent is less than 0, so tangent is negative. So tangent is negative in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4, right? And then it says sine is positive. Well, sine has to be positive. Out of these 2 quadrants, sine is positive in quadrant 2 again. Secant of theta, like I said, I don't like dealing with secant. I'm going to deal with cosine. Because in regards to just the plus or minus sign, they are the same. So when it's cosine negative, well, that's this quadrant and that quadrant. But now where is tangent negative out of those 2 quadrants? Tangent's negative in the second quadrant. So second quadrant again. Okay. Now, obviously, everybody's answers were not second quadrant, but if we look at this last one, we got sine of theta being the reciprocal cosecant. When it's sine negative, so sine is negative in the third and fourth quadrants. And now it says where is cosine positive? Well, cosine out of those 2 quadrants is only positive in the fourth quadrant. So we're looking at our angle terminating there. Does that help a little bit? Okay. If you remember back to college algebra, we did a little bit of that where they said something of the effect of if where does x over y lie if x is negative but y is positive? You remember doing that? Okay. And that would be in the second quadrant if x is negative and y is positive. So we've done similar things with rectangular coordinates with x's and y's, and now it's just the same thing with these angle measurements. Okay.